What's up, bro chacho? It's your boy Tanner Wideman of BarbarianBody, and today's question was, dude, one of my arms is bigger than the other, one shoulder is bigger than the other, one leg is bigger than the other. How do I fix it? Today, I'm gonna tell you how. So this problem is caused by three main things. Number one, bad posture. Number two, incorrect form. And number three, right or left hand dominance. Let's get into the incorrect form first, and then I'll explain the following two throughout the video. So first and foremost, let's say you're performing a squat and you don't have your feet aligned correctly, meaning you're not toe to toe. One foot is slightly ahead of the other. When you're performing this movement, what's gonna happen is there's gonna be a little bit more quad activation with the leg that is positioned a little bit further up than the other one. As opposed to the leg that's further behind, you're gonna have a little bit more of the glute activation, and also there's gonna be some twisting in the trunk too. This will cause a larger muscle group in the leg that is positioned forward and a larger glute muscle in the leg that's positioned backwards. So you need to always have your foot positioning completely straight and aligned the whole time. Okay, let's get on to another one, the bicep curls. So you're performing your bicep curls and you unknowingly actually have your shoulder position a little bit further on the right side than you do with the left side. What this is gonna do is it's actually gonna make the exercise a lot easier for your right bicep because the shoulder is now involved. It's taking a little bit of the load off, and your left bicep is actually getting a lot more targeting. The consequence of this, you're gonna have a bigger left arm and a smaller right arm. Another great example of this, and I see this one all the time, tricep extensions. Some guys really push their body into the weight to lower it. This might be because there's too much weight, but I'm just gonna use this as a good example. But sometimes they slightly twist their torso in there, and one side of the arm is pushing a little bit more than the other. What's gonna happen here is you're gonna actually have more activation from the shoulder, because when you push your torso down to get you those dips, those last couple of reps, you're actually activating your shoulders and taking a lot of the load off of the triceps. Now, if you have a slight twist and you're twisting a little bit to the left here, you're gonna be engaging more with the right shoulder and thus take a lot of the load off of the right tricep. The left tricep, however, that's gonna take a majority of the load, and as a consequence, that tricep is gonna be bigger than the one on the right-hand side. So to ensure that this doesn't happen, make sure your feet are aligned, make sure your shoulders aren't tipping in, make sure you got a nice, straight, neutral position, and you're gonna prevent these imbalances from happening. Okay, next, poor posture. This is a huge one that pretty much the entire world is guilty of. Rounded shoulders. Shoulders are rounded up to the front. This happens because we're all working at our desks and we gotta type on a computer, so that's just naturally the position you're in. Or if you're on your phone, you're gonna be typing on your phone as such. So as a consequence, your chest muscles become more overdeveloped and your anterior head of your deltoid becomes overdeveloped, and you start to round in. This then causes a weakening of the rear head of the delt, and as well as all the upper back muscles. So what you need to do to combat this is to strengthen your upper back, which is a muscle group that a ton of people miss. I know, because I used to be one of those people that neglected the upper back training, simply because you can't see it. Exercises such as underhand grip barbell rows are terrific. You wanna go heavy on those. That's typically what I like to do. Performing sets of 5 repetitions. And another great exercise to target the rear head of the delt, mostly, is going to be some band pull-aparts. I absolutely love these, and the targeting that you feel on the rear head of that delt is phenomenal. And if you don't have a band, then you can also do some bent over dumbbell flies. Those are gonna be terrific at targeting that rear head of the delt. And by strengthening those two muscles, the upper back and the rear head of the delt, your shoulders will eventually come back and you will finally be aligned, and you won't have this poor posture and you look like a caveman or anything like that. Strengthen the upper back, strengthen the rear delts, and you'll bring that all back. Okay, the next thing, poor posture. If you're slouching, you may not notice, but you probably slouch ever so slightly. When you're performing an exercise such as shoulder press, you're gonna have a little bit more targeting on one side as opposed to the other. Consequence of that, one head of your deltoid is gonna get a lot bigger than the other one, and it's gonna be kind of significant. Not to mention, because you have that poor posture, it's gonna look even more evident because one shoulder is gonna be dipped down, one's gonna be raised up. Try and align that posture. Be aware of when you're slouching and try and correct yourself. You'll typically notice this when you're driving, when you're sitting at the office, when you're doing any kind of work, or even when you're on the couch. Keep yourself aligned throughout the day and watch yourself in the mirror every time you're performing an exercise, and you'll be able to correct this pretty easily. Final cause of muscular imbalances, right or left hand dominance. So let's say you're right hand dominant, most people are. When you're performing any kind of exercise, whether it be a bicep curl or a dumbbell shoulder press or even just a regular old bench press, when you're performing these movements, unknowingly you're actually going to be driving with your stronger arm. Most of the load is going to be lifted with that stronger arm, and that weaker arm that you're not actually dominant in is going to be doing a lot less work. And there's two ways we can correct this. The first one, by consciously driving with your weaker arm first and then following through with your stronger arm. You obviously want to keep the bar parallel, but consciously decide to force the weight up with that weaker side of your arm. The second way to fix this, and this is honestly my favorite way of doing this, is by performing unilateral movements and focusing on your weak arm first and then following up with your strong arm. So if you're performing dumbbell bicep curls, start first with your weaker arm. So if your weaker arm is your left arm, you're gonna get 8 repetitions, you're gonna hit failure. Now you're gonna go on and do your right arm. This is your strong arm. You're gonna get to the 8th repetition and probably will feel like you could do another 1 to 2 repetitions. This is gonna make your arm dominance even more prevalent. Just because you can do more doesn't mean you should do more. If you want to have this arm catch up to this arm, then you need to let this arm chill, your dominant arm chill. Don't take it to the max effort and let the weaker arm catch up to it. These exercises can be performed on things like the bicep curls, on overhead extensions, anything that you can do unilaterally, meaning one side or one arm at a time. Overhead shoulder presses, you can even do dumbbell chest presses with this. There's a ton of different movements. Start with the weaker arm, even dumbbell rows. Start with the weaker arm first. Get the designated number of repetitions and then match it identically with your stronger arm. Overall, the best methods to do this is by being alert. Look in the mirror. The mirror is not just a method for you to check out your gains. Look at those guns hanging out of that shirt. It's also a great method to see, how's my posture look? Do I look a little bit twisted? Is my form correct? Am I driving a little bit too much on the left side or the right side? Am I slightly slouched over to one side? It's a terrific way to monitor yourself, and you're not going to be able to see it at all times, so filming yourself is also a great technique as well. Go through a full workout routine, just toss your cell phone onto something and record yourself if you're by yourself, and then review it at the end of your workout. How were my hips? Were they completely aligned? Was I slightly slouched a little bit? Was that arm driving a little bit more? Be aware of this, find your problems, and then come back the next day or the next week and correct those problems. Another great method to use is to get a friend to monitor you. Say, hey man, can you watch my hips, make sure I'm not driving too much from one side and not enough from the other? Can you make sure I don't have a slouch? Or can you make sure that the posture and the form is correct? By doing this, you're gonna have somebody that's able to point out some things that you probably weren't able to see yourself. And this is a great method to fix up that posture, fix up that form, and fix all the imbalances so you can finally have a nice symmetrical physique. So there you guys go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to give your boy a like down below, and also be sure to subscribe for weekly workout tips and nutrition tips that you will not want to miss. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you in the next video.